up, y'all? It is, what is it, Thursday today? Thursday, 4 o'clock. Another talk, okay? This will be a different talk today. So this is going to be a little bit of, this is more about kind of how I view the world based on what it is I do for a living, which is make furniture, right? So we're going to talk about virtue, right? We're going to talk about what's happened in America in the last probably 40 years and where we're probably going, where I hope we're going. And we got a lot of talk about this whole tariff thing, right? It seems to be a popular topic. And these tariffs are opening up a conversation about what it is we do in America, right? Which is opening up yet another conversation about how did we get here, okay? And that's what I'm gonna talk about today. I'm gonna talk about how we got here and what's happened to our society today. And again, this is a very unpolitically correct conversation. So if you don't want to hear, a person's point of view that's not very censored or very, palatable, as we'll say, this is definitely a conversation probably not for you. But this is what I want to talk about today. So I listened to a conversation today with Mike Rowe, and he was talking about, he had a couple guys on there who had no problems with tariffs, right? And they started talking about why their businesses, they don't care about tariffs. They're unaffected by it, which is how my company is. I am unaffected by tariffs, right? I'm unaffected by the fact that I don't have cheap slave labor and places that don't have the regulations that I have to abide by all over the world, right? I'm unaffected by that, okay? So that's what I'm gonna talk about today, right? My name is Eric Wilkin, I own the Resplendent Crow. And we got a small furniture company here in St. Louis, Missouri. We high gloss lacquer furniture, we paint furniture, we stain furniture. We make a lot of custom furniture. I'm doing a custom walnut sideboards that I'm working on right now. Then I got a custom buffet that I got to build also. So that's just what I'm making right at the moment. So I got a lot of furniture to make. I got about 7 employees here, and we do a small 7 figures. It's just a middle class living. It's good living, and so my point of view comes from this lifestyle of working, 60 hours a week most of my life, right? As a business owner, I also work 60 hours a week minimum. And instead of just working at my shop, which I'm at right now, I work at home. I work on the road. I work on my vacation. I work constantly. Even on my days off, I'm still working. And that's the life of a business owner. And that's where I'm coming from. Okay, so what I'm gonna start off with is a couple things. So if you come to the conversation, hit the like button, add to the discussion, let me know where you're at, let me know what you do for a living, and again, let me know if I'm wrong, let me know where you agree with me, let me know all this kind of stuff, okay? So I'm gonna start off with a statement here, okay? And the statement is, I thought about this and I actually wrote it down because I thought it was kind of encapsulated the stuff that I think about when I hear these conversations go on about tariffs and about where the economy is, where our society is here in America, and how I kind of think about it. Okay, so here's what I wrote down, all right? So we traded the realities of making things for the virtue of cheap goods and safety, right? While denigrating generational workers for the facade of easy work and pleasure, right? And I said, shame on you. That's shame on everyone, right? Because this is what happened, right? We took the work that my dad did, my grandpa did, and we basically told these people that they were losers for doing this work. And if you were the son of one of these people and you wanted to do that work because you thought your dad was amazing, right? And your dad wanted you to do that work too, you had some expert come in and basically tell you that you're a piece of shit for wanting your kid to do what it is that you did, right? Or that you're unsafe, or that you don't care about the environment, or that you want people to have dirty air, dirty drinking water, all these kind of things. We traded that great thing about the generational worker, the father-son relationship, all these kind of things. We traded all that for safety. We traded it all for cheap shit that was made in another country. And it aggravates me to no end, and it pains me because this is what I see in our country today. I see that this is what people want to do with their life. They just want to have it easy, and we can't have that. Those days are over. There's a very common saying, or very popular saying, that it's basically strong men create good times, good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. And this is a saying, it's a cycle that goes on, and that's where I think we're at. Like, I honestly think that that's where we're at. We have traded what was a very good thing for the easy thing, the weakness, and we're getting ready to create hard times for people, and people are gonna freak out. They're not gonna like it, So that's some of the stuff we're gonna talk about. And I wrote that down because like I said, it really encompasses everything that I think about what's going on today. It pisses me off that, people used to call my dad a loser for being a welder, right? Because he didn't want to go to school. People called me a loser for a long time because I didn't want to go to school, right? I didn't want to go to college. I couldn't sit in a room and do those kind of things. And that's how it went. And they just told us that we're all losers, right? We remember that That Hillary Clinton chick basically telling all of West Virginia, you know, we're taking coal away. You're not going to do coal work anymore. When you had third, fourth generation coal miners, you know, in those places, you know, doing the coal job, and that's fine. It fed their families. They had good lives. They passed it on to their kids, and that's what their kids went and did. And there is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. You know, and for some reason we decided that that's not okay, and that we're going to tell everybody what to do. You know, and it's like this whole electric vehicle thing. You know, we decided that, you know, by 2030 or some arbitrary date that some expert came up with, you know, we're going to move over to, you know, mostly electric vehicles. And it's like, why? Who the fuck asked you? Nobody asked you, you know, to basically social engineer our society, right? Nobody asked for that. You know, I didn't vote for that. Nobody voted for that, right? So you had that one thing, right? And then you remember the learn to code crowd. Remember there's a whole bunch of people losing their jobs. And they were basically told, well, you need to go back to school, you need to retrain, you need to learn to code. Like these condescending things that these highly educated assholes always say to people, you know, and it's very condescending, and it's starting to change, right? We're starting to see a turning here. And because of what happened, you know, during the pandemic, people are realizing that this class of experts, these people are fools. They're all fools, and they've been propped up for decades by other people, right? You have this basically smart person circle jerk that's been going on for a long time. They're taking tax dollars from you, and they're taking it from people like me who work hard and work with our hands, right, and do a good job every day, and they're giving them to colleges for research. They're giving them to professors so they can go blow each other. Like, that's what they've been doing for the longest time. And then they pump out these kids and they tell them, hey, you're so smart. In fact, you're so smart. You're going to go get an office job. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be an engineer. You're going to be a psychologist. You know, you're going to go study gay frogs. And you're going to help people that, you know, can't do coal mining anymore. You're going to help those people learn to code. We did this for the last 15 or 20 years, and we created a society that hates itself and it's taught that they have no worth and that they're not useful. And it has just really done a number on our society. And again, I think we're starting to work our way out of it, you know, with the idea of people getting back to working with their hands and taking on normie jobs again. Like, it's okay, you know, just to go to work and be a plumber. It's okay to go shovel shit. You know, it's okay to go frame a house. These jobs are considered normal, you know, sort of normal again, which it hasn't been that way for a long time. These were considered loser jobs, right? These were the jobs that people got, that they took if they couldn't go to college, right? But what they didn't tell you is that most of the people that go to college aren't any smarter than the people that frame houses, you know? But because they went to school, they were put on an elevated level, and now they're looking to come work for people like me, right? People that have never even went to high school, you know? So change is coming, and again, this is something that's always bothered me as someone that's kind of been the subject of these people's kind of what's the word? This kind of arrogant thinking that people have, you know. So that's one thing I wrote down. Another thing I wrote down is we traded our birthright of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for narcissistic experts. Okay. Now these people, they are so arrogant. They believe that they just have all the world's knowledge and that they have it all figured out. And truth is that they've created the society that we have right now, right? The society where nobody knows anything. You know, people, they can't pay off all these student loans, and they're so fucking entitled that they believe that, again, people like you, people like me, just hardworking, normal people, we never borrowed money. We just went and did the dumb work, right? We should pay off their loans because somebody lied to them, right? Or someone was dishonest with them, or somebody. It's always somebody else. And this is a massive problem in America today. It's always somebody else's fault. Okay, now I'm gonna continue down my list. All right, so I said kids stay in college for too long, okay? Kids are fucking 27 years old when they're getting out of college. You wanna know why kids aren't having kids anymore? You know, or why young adults aren't having kids anymore? It's because they're not even considered adults until they're damn near 30 years old, right? That's what this virtuous world we live in today has done to people. Kids never grow up anymore. They never grow up. You know, I was out on my ass when I was 18 years old. A lot of other people were too, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. It makes you grow up fast. It makes you figure things out quickly. You know, it shows you, hey, if I'm an asshole at a young age, people aren't going to give me a job, right? Which is one of the big problems we have today. People are just jerks. They're not tolerant of other people, right? Of course, they have it all figured out. You know, it's a massive problem. Okay, other things I wrote down. Kids can stay on healthcare until they're 27, right? That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Because what it does is it mentally fucks up a kid. It lets them know that, hey, I don't have to, figure it out because I have no reason to, because my parents' healthcare is going to take care of it. And the parents that do this to their kids, right, you're prolonging the problem as well. So then when your kid gets done with school, if they don't, make a shit ton of money, they're never going to pay that loan back, right? And then when they go get a job, there's a lot of jobs that don't have healthcare. And then they freak out. They're like, whoa, what? I've never not had healthcare before. And they lose their minds. They don't know how to operate, and suddenly they're scared all the time. It's wild, guys. Yeah, I wrote down, kids aren't expected to grow up, so they act like kids as adults. Like today, kids aren't expected to wake up, or excuse me, they're not expected to grow up. Like I meet kids all the time, looking for jobs and stuff like that. And again, they can't even look you in the eye. They're so scared. They don't even know what it means to look somebody in the eye. Their hands, they're all soft like a woman's. They're all pussies. Men aren't men anymore. This is a big problem because they never had to grow up. They never had to go out and do real work. They're in school till they're 25 years old. Our society they're never going to grow up if this is the kind of society that we're going to put together, right? All the experts said this is what you got to do. All these people are losing their jobs. AI is going to put all these people out of work. And you know what? It's just going to be people like myself, people that build things, people that make shit, that can fix things, repair things. We're going to be the only ones left to do the freaking work. It really bothers me. Like, we traded all this ability to make stuff. Like, this country has more resources than any country on earth. And we traded the ability to harness all of those resources into thriving economies, into meaningful work. We traded all that for worthless college degrees and cheap products. We sent all that work overseas. Did you know America is the #1 producer of timber in America, or is the #1 producer of timber in the world? And we also have the largest supply of timber in the world. Like, make that math work. It doesn't make any sense. And for what? What are we able to save $20,000, $30,000 on a home so they can get siphoned off into some CEO's pocket? It's like, what are we doing? It's very weird. It's I don't know exactly how we're going to get out of this situation, but we have to at least be able to honestly talk about what the hell is going on with our culture today. And it's a weird culture, guys. Like, there's, again, as a middle-aged person, like, I have hired and fired a ton of people in my day, and I see all these things, and I've seen them for a long time. I mean, at least 7 years at this point. Like, I've seen this problem. And for 7 years, I've had people with bachelor's degrees wanting to come in and learn how to sand, learn how to put furniture together, want to be delivery drivers, right? Because not only can they not use the degree that they have, but they hate the job that came with it, which, how the fuck does that happen? I will never know. How you go to college for 4 or 5 years, right? And then you come out to do the job and you realize that the job that you went to school for sucks. Like, how does that work? I can't figure that one out. So anyway, I'm gonna continue on here. Say hi. So we're here. Carter S is in here today. Carter, good to see you. Again, if you guys are in the discussion, hit the like button. I know this is definitely a little bit of a different kind of topic than I normally talk about. This is a little bit more of like I said, I watched this YouTube video this morning. And again, this is Micro. He's the guy, dirty job guy, talks about work in America. And he had these guys on that were just talking about, like, how we can do all this stuff here. Tariffs don't affect me. These are people that make clothes in America. Like, people don't realize we do still make clothes here. So yeah, it's not like we can't do this stuff. And yeah, will it be more expensive? Absolutely. But again, you traded your cheap clothes, and the stuff that is saving you a couple bucks here and a couple bucks there for your livelihood, for your respect, for your pride. We traded all that shit. It's all it's all gone. Like, I've said it a million times. Like, I used to, like, when I would make my cabinets for my jets, right? I make cabinets for a private aircraft. Again, I'd go into the jet. Every time I see that jet on the news, or I see that jet, in a magazine, or I see that jet on television, I can be like, oh God, I made the cabinets in that jet. I know that person. I put those things in their jet. I've been on that jet many times. I flew that jet to Atlanta. I flew that jet to Savannah. It's an amazing thing to make something because it never goes away. You get to see it all the time, and it's an amazing sense of pride. And today, we don't have any of that. Like everyone has some kind of a digital service-based job that, you know, I don't know, I can't understand. Like it doesn't even make sense to me. I don't know how people can go through life and not make things, but it's, I mean, it's a thing. I get it. Helping people, I'm sure feels really good. You know, if you're in the medical industry, you know, curing people's sicknesses, helping people with, you know, speech impediments or whatever it might be. Like I get there's something to that, but as men, being able to see what you've done every day, to know that your product that you made is in this person's house, that person's jet, that person's car, whatever it might be, it is never ending. I tell the story of this house that I bought a long time ago called the Fraser House in El Dorado, Kansas. You can Google it, it's a famous house. They shot a movie, The Gypsy Moss, there with Deborah Kerr and Burt Lancaster and Gene Hackman. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I built a cobblestone walkway up to that house. And every week, I would say, that I was building, I think someone would come by and go, oh man, that's really cool. I like that you're making this. Like, oh, my grandma used to, you know the people that lived in this house. Or, oh, we used to see this house and the concrete sidewalk was all messed up and this cobblestone one's gonna look amazing. Or I built a big grand walkway up to the house out of reclaimed wood from the original part of the house, right? Rebuilt all of that. And again, people would just come and go like, oh, that staircase is amazing. It's so cool that you're able to build all those stairs. How do you do that? Where did you get that stained glass? And it feels amazing. You know, and I don't know that we have that anymore. And we traded all of that for cheap T-shirts and whatever, like cheap. I don't know what the fuck people buy anymore. You know, cheap sneakers or whatever. Like clothes is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. I know there's got to be lots of us like cheap baby toys. You know, like I hear like car cribs, okay, which is a whole other thing. Like people talk about baby cribs, or people talk about oh god, what is it that goes in the car? I'm drawing a blank here. You got strollers. You got the deals you carry your kids around. I'm totally drawing a blank there, but again, all that shit's made in China, right? It's all made in China, you know, and that's what we have now. We have this cheap Chinese-made shit, right? And nobody works at these baby places that make all this stuff. All those jobs are in another country. We don't do any of that shit here. You know, we trade all that for service jobs, you know, where we answer phones or we, you know, direct people where to go, or maybe we're in, you know, what materials engineering, like psychology. Everyone's a shrink now. Everyone's in some kind of the medical industry is probably the largest industry in America today because everybody's fucked up. Everybody's sick. Everybody has a problem. Do you guys notice that? Everybody has some kind of a psychological problem or a health problem. We're the richest country in the world, and yet we're the sickest country in the world. Like it makes no sense. So I'm gonna keep going down my list here. This idea that children are supposed to be protected at all costs, and children are the future, and children are so amazing. We put so much emphasis on kids, yet we're not even having kids anymore, right? The country is on a decline in its population, right? And here's the thing: when you had kids before, it used to be kids. You brought kids to the world because you needed some fucking help. You needed help, whether it was, you know, helping on the farm, helping bringing in some income, you know, help watch the siblings. Like, this is what kids were for. And we've traded that for this virtuous thing of like this little, like, it's like kids are like these Kardashian pets that you put in your purse. You know, we just parade them around and they're so amazing. Oh, they're going to go to the best schools and they're going to have the best jobs and they're going to live the best lives. And kids are labor, man. Kids are supposed to help out. And we've traded this idea of kids being helpful and useful and these things that have utility to these fucking ornaments. And it makes me sick, guys. It absolutely makes me sick. And people are not gonna like this. Like, kids are great, don't get me wrong, but man, way overrated the way we put these things on a pedestal. You know, people have been having kids for thousands of years, and everyone that has one thinks that they're the most special, amazing thing ever. And it's just, it blows my mind, guys. Okay, so I wrote down, increased welfare has produced generational parasites and stolen pride masculinity. Okay, there's another thing that's happened, right? So as we've traded all of these jobs that people used to do that brought a lot of pride into the home, you know, again, you get to see what you did every day. I built that house, I built that highway, I built that building, all these kind of things. We traded all that for being Uber drivers, you know, so we get cheaper good or conveniences, right? We traded all that shit. And we got generations of people that just live on welfare. They can't make any fucking money. There's no money to be made because the only skills that they have come from the previous generation of people that didn't know how to make money either, or didn't know how to make anything. Like, we got entire races of people in this country who don't know how to build shit because their parents never built anything. They never had the opportunity and nobody ever showed them. You know, we can fix all that stuff if we start doing it again, but nobody's going to teach these people if the work doesn't exist. You know, it's not going to change anything, guys. You know, we got a lot of work to do. You know, and when you get back to making things, you can actually teach entire generations, you know, how to feel like men again, like how to have pride again, you know, and have some dignity, you know, be able to look at what they did every day and think, man, that is really cool. You know, that is really cool. You know, and man, we don't have a lot of that today, and it's bad news, guys. So other things I wrote down: safety culture has ruined our youth through fear and compliance and blunted creativity and adventure. Okay, we have completely messed up our youth. You know, we've taught them that you have to be safe, right? We got this walkway down here in Del Mar, you know, right up the street from me. It's right by WashU College, one of the big colleges here in St. Louis. It's probably the most prestigious college here, right? The fucking walkway looks like a carnival. It's a walkway. It's a four-way freaking, traffic goes this way, traffic goes this way. You got, you know, green walk lanes. You got big yellow freaking pillars all over the place. You got, you know, 10 different kinds of warning lights and stop signs. It's fucking circus. And this is what we've done to kids. You know, it's wild, guys. It's freaking wild. Okay, look at school buses today. Okay, when I grew up, when we got on the school bus, there was a blinking yellow light, and that's it, right? Then after the blinking yellow light, then they added the strobe light. Or no, I take it back. It was the red light, right? They had the red light. Yeah, after the red light, then you had the strobe light on top, right? Then you had the arm, right? Then you had the arm with the stoplight, and then you have the school bus now. It's like strobe lights, arms, yellow lights. It's all bump, bump, bump. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Is this really progress? You know, and you know where all this stuff comes from? It comes from everybody going to school. You know, everyone's got to justify their job. And if you're one of these safety people, everywhere you see is danger. Yeah, a pinch point, a hazard zone, right? When I was doing all my lean manufacturing training for my Six Sigma black belt, we looked for all of this shit, you know, and it's disgusting. It's ruined the experience of work. It's ruined the experience of what it means to go on the job and have a good time and enjoy your work. You know, everyone's freaked out about everything. Everywhere people look, they are looking for problems. We've trained our youth today to, everywhere they go, to look for danger. Look for that not being safe. You know, oh, that's not clean. You know, everywhere you go, you gotta have fucking eye wash stations. You have first aid stations all over the place. You got fire extinguishers all over the place. You got halon systems all over the place. You got exit signs everywhere. And you got people that'll come into your factory and they look for this kind of stuff. They are looking for reasons to shut you down, to cite you. Like an entire culture of this regulatory and compliance has ruined our youth. You know, and it's done it progressively over the years. It's just gotten worse and worse. And like I wrote down here, it basically blunted creativity and adventure. It used to be going to work was fun. You know, it's like, what are we gonna do today? What are we gonna get into? And like, oh man, I bet Bobby's gonna, you know, do this. And oh, you know, freaking Jim's, you know, probably shit-faced and hungover this morning, you know, see how many times he falls off the roof. Like, it was an adventure. It was fun. You know, and all that stuff's gone for fucking safety vests and harnesses, and you got your safety hammers, and you got all this, you know, crazy, you know, double-walled helmets and or whatever the hell you call them. I don't know if they're called helmets, but but this idea of everybody looking for safety above all else it's destroyed creativity. I wholeheartedly believe it. I wholeheartedly believe it. You know, that's why I show people what it's like to really run a business. Okay. A real business doesn't do a lot of that shit. You know, some of it, yes, we absolutely do. Nobody wants anyone to get injured. We want people to feel creative and be able to, you know, bring their ideas to the table. That's a great place to work, you know. But you don't want people thinking about safety first. Like, whoever said that is a fucking moron. Fucking moron. I'll say it twice, okay? Those people are the bane of owning a business. They're the bane of work. They can plan the fun out of anything and absolutely everything. You know, those people have ruined it. They've ruined work. You know, that's what I think about it. It's not that I'm anti-safety, it's that I'm anti those kind of people. That kind of thinking destroys the workplace. It really does. You want to like suck the soul out of your workforce, you know, put that safety culture in there. People go into work like zombies, they leave like zombies. It just sucks. It absolutely sucks. Other things I wrote down here on the side. I wanted to talk. Okay, so here's a quick stat for you guys. Okay, and this is a pretty well-known stat, to be quite honest with you. Okay, in 1950, the Code of Federal Regulations, right? This is the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFRs. These are basically all the guidelines when you want to enter into an industry, right? So my industry is paint, okay? So if I'm going to enter in the paint industry, I have to have a paint booth, right? And I have to have a paint booth that pulls a certain amount of CFMs, right? Depending on the size of the booth, right? Because we want to keep our particulate matter in the facility at a certain level, right? The parts per million. So you have to have all these, and it kind of outlines what it is you need to do, right? And if you're going to have a spray booth, well, then you got to have a fire suppression system, right? So it kind of outlines, what the requirements are for that system, right? It doesn't tell you how to do any of it. It just kind of gives you the outline of what needs to be there, So it's basically this list of regulations that exist in every industry in America, okay? In 1950, it was basically 8,400 regulations. And this is across the entire country, okay? Today, do you want to, I can take a wild guess. Do you know what that Code of Federal Regulations is today? It is 93,000 regulations, right? So in the course of, 50 years? No, take it back, 70 years. 70 years, we've went from 8,400 to 93,000 regulations, right? So you're going to try and tell me that we created that many more industries? There's that many more industries today than there was back in 1950. We need that many more regulations, So when people cry about the cost of everything, right? Oh, life's expensive, wages don't pay enough, blah, 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 okay? 93,000 rules that businesses have to adhere to in order to technically operate within compliance, to be compliant, okay? That's why you can't make any money. It's too fucking expensive to start a company. But all the experts, right, the college people, the people that work in offices love to tell you how, safety is important and the children of the future, okay? That's all they care about. Their virtue has created the situation we're in today, right? All the safety regulations, all the environmental regulations, all the labor regulations, the transportation regulations, the insurance regulations, all these virtuous experts that we all love to watch on television, right? We love to watch on X and Fox News, CNN, all these places. We love these people. They're on the air all the time, and they're driving up the cost of everything for everybody, so you can't make any money. That's what it is. You know why your fucking insurance is so expensive? Because of these people. And they all say, oh, it's all climate change, it's all climate change. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's not. Read up on the insurance industry. You'll understand that the insurance in Florida does not necessarily affect the insurance here in Missouri, right? The insurance in Oregon does not necessarily affect the insurance here in Missouri, okay? There's these things called insurance regulators. Google this shit, and you'll understand that there's an X amount of insurance you have to have on your dwelling, on your property, and there's a minimum for everything, right? So what this means is that if you want to, say, insure your home, okay? Say you buy your home for whatever, your home is $250,000, you put down $100,000, right? You owe $150,000 on that home, okay? If you want to go buy insurance on that home, they are going to give you insurance on a $250,000 home, plus all the contents are going to be in your home, the expenses that you're going to incur, when your home's not there, getting rebuilt, you're going to need hotels, you need all this shit, right, in order to insure your home. Okay? You cannot go there and say, no, I just want to replace the loan. I've got tons of cash. I don't need any of that shit. You cannot do it, okay? These are regulations. These are things that are in place, right? The reason you can't just go get a freaking loan for a home, or excuse me, for an automobile, there's certain things you have to adhere to in order to get that loan, because the underwriter's not gonna, it's not safe enough for them to give the loan out to you because you haven't met all the requirements for that loan. Okay? These are all regulations that are done on the state level. Okay? Same thing with my business. If I want to operate my business, I can't just go buy a building or rent a building and then just start working, okay? My landlord's not gonna rent to me, right? He wants protection. His insurance company isn't gonna allow him to rent to me because his insurance wants to know that this building is covered, okay? There's all kinds of things that happen. You can't just hire employees. You have to have insurance. Like, it's illegal to run more than, I think it's 2 employees without some kind of general insurance, okay? You have to have it, workman's comp. You have to carry all of these things. And all of a sudden, it's not based on the people. People don't understand any of this shit. It's all based on salaries. So the amount of salary you pay every month determines what your rates are when it comes to insurance, okay? And even if you never have any injuries, your rates will still go up or down depending on what your area and your state is seeing. So all these regulations and all this stuff it's It's why everything is so damn expensive and why you cannot make any money working for somebody else, or it is very difficult to make money working for somebody else, okay? So I want to talk about that. Yeah, and that's about all the safety culture, right? All these regulations in all these industries. I wrote down cars, houses, healthcare, mental health care, all these kind of things, right? All of these regulations, all this safety shit that's tied into all of these things is causing the cost of everything to go through the roof. You know, like you don't need a car that has, you know, all these crazy crumple zones and all this crazy touch technology and all these airbags and, you know, all the crazy suspension components that we have. You don't need all that shit. But the customer says they want it, and so the car companies put it in there. The National Transportation Highway Safety Board says, now you have to have this. So you can't even make a car that doesn't have this shit anymore, right? There's a regulation for it. You can't have a car without anti-lock brakes, whatever it might be. This drives up the cost of everything. Everything. And this goes for all the industries I just talked about, right? And then you take the insurance on top of that, because most people can't get a loan for any of this stuff without having insurance. As the cost of that stuff goes up, the insurance goes up, right? And every time we tack on another regulation to build a house, guess what happens to the insurance? The insurance goes up. The cost goes up. You know, and if we continue doing what we're doing, you know, by saying the children are the future and safety at all costs and the environment is the most important thing, everything is going to continue to be the way that it is. It's going to continue. It's not going to fix itself, you know, and we're going to have a bunch of people now as these white collar jobs and these service jobs get basically replaced by AI. You guys are going to have a choice. You're going to either have to come into the workforce where I work, where you make stuff, where you take a shower when you go home as opposed to before you go to work. You're gonna have to learn to do that shit, you know. And if you don't do it, you're in for a world of hurt. You know, and the other thing we do is we just love to give out money to people. Like it feels so good to give out other people's money to parasites and to people that don't really want to work that hard, or to people that think that, you know, they're too disabled to work. Like we just love to give out money to people. It's our favorite thing to do. Same thing with defense. We just love the idea of having the, you know, biggest dick defense that we possibly can, right? We got all the jets and all the best of everything. Like we just love spending money. You know, like something's got to give, guys. Like at some point, something has to give. You know, you can't just keep throwing money at everything and throwing virtue at everything. You know, all the stuff that we buy today, this shirt, right? The dyes that cause this polyester to be this color, these dyes, you can't even use them in America. We have no place to put them, right? There's nobody that will process this shit, okay? So it's all done over in Thailand, you know, all done over in Bangladesh and these places where they just dump it the fucking river and nobody cares because they want the business, right? Because they're a poor country, they want these industries and they'll do whatever they have to do because it's good for their people to get these jobs. Meanwhile, we don't want to do any of that stuff. We don't want to do any of it anymore. In fact, you're a loser if you wanted to make t-shirts. You're a loser if you wanted to make tennis shoes. You know, we don't even appreciate these kind of people anymore. You know, if you're not a psychologist or someone that, you know, some kind of an engineer, like, or an accountant or something, like, oh my God, what are you doing with your life? What happened to you? You know, so we got real problems here, guys. And I think that the tariff conversation has really opened up how we look at other people, right? We're realizing, oh, these people are kind of important. Maybe we shouldn't have talked so much shit on them, you know, or maybe the trash guy that I always thought was a loser, like that guy's actually his job's probably more important than my finance job, you know? And so we gotta start rethinking how we think about people, how we think about these jobs, and this idea that we're such a great, benevolent people. We don't have to do this stuff here because we're so rich and we're so successful and we're so smart. Like those days are coming to an end, people. Like you can't have it both ways. You can't basically take all of our virtue here in America and outsource it to the rest of the world and then get to say how great we are. You know, because the truth is that that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. We haven't created, you know, a new way to make t-shirts. We just outsourced all the problems to another country. You know, which is kind of fucked up, I think. I mean, to be quite honest with you, you know, there's a guy named Thomas Sowell, and he has a great quote. He says, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. And he's 100% right. You know, so the solution in this case is to send the work overseas, right? You know, you know, and then, you know, that's just, what are we going to do, guys? So, yeah, so anyway, I know this isn't like one of my typical conversations, but I would implore everyone, go watch that conversation with Mike Rowe. And I don't remember the gentleman's names on there. One of the guys is the owner of Montana Knife Company, and the other guy is the owner of Big Something. They make clothes here in America, and they talk about, the making of fabrics and things like that. And it's a very difficult to do here in America. We have just screwed anybody that wants to work in those industries. And I know a little bit about it because I work in paint. Paint's very difficult to deal with the waste byproduct. It's heavily regulated, and it's kind of bullshit, to be quite honest with you, but it is what it is, So that's what's on here. I think everyone have a great day. I appreciate everyone watching. And again, add comments, add your, let me know where I'm right, let me know where I'm wrong, because this is kind of how I see things. I see big changes coming, and this isn't a very popular topic, I can already tell, which is fine. But anyway, tomorrow is going to be what's in the shop. I'll show everyone kind of what we got going on here, show the new projects, working on the stuff we're shipping out. I got a bunch of China cabinets. I got some credenzas. I got a pair of vintage original Dorothy Drapers in the shop that we just painted, that are all done, ready to go back out. So I got some fun shit to show you guys. And a lot of new projects, man. I got so many new projects to show you, and we got to order a lot of mahogany. We're ordering a lot of mahogany, so that's kind of the wood for the next couple of months, I think. So, yeah, IBF, yep. What's in the shop? We'll do what's in the shop tomorrow. Like I said, we're doing a lot of mahogany projects. Like I said, a lot of crotch mahogany stuff coming in. I got an entire house worth of custom work that we landed the job for that. So that's like 8 pieces. One of them's a 15-foot dining table, solid dining table, no leaves. It's probably going to weigh 1,000,000 pounds. So yeah, getting that into that house will be a lot of fun. We got a matching sideboard for the dining room that goes in there. We got big foyer cabinets that go in. Everything's at least 8 foot long. I got cabinets that got carved griffins on them, kind of fun. So a lot of different stuff. So most of the furniture that I do is painted, and it's very Suchetta. It's very my wife, her kind of style. This stuff's gonna be very different. It's more of another person's style, designer who's really has very different kinds of tastes, but likes our capabilities, has seen the work that we do over the years, and just really thinks that we're a good fit for this particular project. Okay, for some reason, white oak is what people are looking for. Yeah, no, white oak's super popular too. I mean, white oak's everywhere, and people, they love it with that. What's that liming shit that people put in there? I mean, that stuff that's still popular, and we don't do tons of that stuff because we're more of a painting company, but I think after I get done doing all these crotch mahogany pieces, like, people are gonna be like, oh God, Eric makes stain stuff too, because I don't post very much of it. Like, some of it's in my home, and that's really about it. We just don't sell it. It's not really what we're known for. So anyway, we'll do what's in the shop tomorrow, and again, more talk with people, ask your questions, and I'll show you guys kind of what we got going on, and it should be a good time. So anyway, watch the Mike Rowe show and see what people are talking about. You can make shit in America. This idea that we can't make stuff here, the experts have lied to you. They've lied to you for a long time. And these economist fucks that are on television, these people are the devil. They are the absolute devil. They're literally only looking out for themselves. That's it. We can do anything here in America. These people are a cancer. So anyway, everyone have a good day. I'll yak y'all later.